Well, happy playoff Friday, everybody out there in Tiger Nation. Kurt Stubbs at Talkin Tigers, ready for playoff football. Tonight in the ditch, the Tigers welcome the new Albany Eagles. The first meeting with the Eagles since 1977. 1977. The Tigers, coincidentally, were 10-0 in 1977, led by current PLSD board member Keith Kristoff, the MSL Player of the Year. And we are 4-8-1 all time against New Albany, but haven't played since 77, so none of that really matters. That was just a bunch of worthless information to start this show. We got a jam-packed show. Isn't that what I'm supposed to say? Is that what I'm supposed to say here? But no, we have a good show. Going to go over Reynoldsburg game from last Friday real quick. We'll talk about the New Albany game and take a look at Division 1 for Region 3. So with that being said, last Friday in the ditch, I don't know whether it was weather or what was the case, but the Tigers did not score until 1 minute and 21 seconds to go in the first half to take a 7-6 lead. Appreciate the updates from the official Pickerington Central Tiger Football X account for the updates. The Tigers would tack on 2 more touchdowns in the second half to secure a 21-6 victory, winning the OCC title yet again. They are yet to lose a game in this version of the OCC. They are currently on a 5-game winning streak, finished the season at 7-3, and took home the 5 seed in Division 1 Region 3. So that brings us to this week. The New Albany Eagles come into this game at 4-6, but do not be fooled by that mark. The Eagles are much better when you look inside the numbers here the last 5 games. So I try not to focus too much on those first 5 games because they had some clunkers. Lost a close one to Marysville. Lost 20-0 to a Lancaster team we just played 2 weeks ago, and then 17-3 to Olentangy Liberty, a team we beat in week 1. So we got 4 common opponents, Lancaster and Liberty, which we beat, and then North and Gahanna, which neither one of us beat. So they were 0-4 against the common opponents. We were 2-2, but the way they played North, they could have very easily won that game. It was 21-17. That was a game we could have won as well early in the season. Gahanna, when you look at those two, our matchup versus them and their matchup, they were much more competitive than we were. They were down 20-0 to start that game, and the final ended up being 20-7. So 2-2 for us, common opponents 0-4 for Albany, but throw all that out the window here. I think this is a New Albany team that has went back to its roots, figured out this is what we do best, and you look at the first 5 games. They lost to Canal Winchester in overtime, 20-14. In that game against Canal, the stats were very weird. They threw for 211 yards and ran for 76, which for New Albany, you would think that would be the opposite. I think, and I'm not 100% sure here, but I feel like New Albany was playing around with trying to be something a little bit different in the first half of that season, and then as you saw in the last half, they went back to what they do best, and that is run the football. If you look at the numbers, in the last 5 games, they've ran for 1,228 yards compared to just 646 in the first 5. And those included games with, like I said, Gahanna and Pickerington North. So two teams, the two best teams on their schedule were in the back half when they were putting up these numbers. Another thing is they're not turning the ball over. They have one interception and one fumble lost in the last 5 games. They are performing pretty well on third down. They're in these last 5 games, they're around 50%. So, which is key for them because they want to stay on the field on those third downs to keep you off the field. And that's how they shorten those games. Against Gahanna, they lost 20-7, Pickerington North 21-17. Outside of those 2 games, they were victorious, come back and beat Grove City, which is probably their best win, 25-24. They pretty much demolished Westland. And then last week, 45-28 over a Westerville Central team that is much, much, much better than a record. 45-28, but they scored on a kickoff return, and they also scored off of a interception that set up a really short field for a touchdown. So, you take those 2 away, you're looking at like a 31-28 game, which is more realistic. That I thought Westerville Central and New Albany were really similar to each other. And I think if you take away those 2 things, and it was roughly a 3-point game. So what are we in for here Friday night? Well, when you look at us, I think, I pride myself on being transparent and honest of my observation of the Tigers. I'm a positive guy in general, and I'm going to find a positive even when it's really bad. So I'm not somebody that's going to jump off the wagon because we get a loss or 2 losses or 3 losses in a row. Because I trust the history of this program. I trust the staff that they'll figure it out. But when you look at this team, you go back, to me, this team peaked. Best performance of the year was against Pickerington North. I thought they played pretty well against Wayne. They were a little sloppy at times, but I think their best performance of the season was against North. The line played great. We ran the ball really effectively. I thought Rocco played really well, especially for a sophomore in that environment over there. A couple pass interferences go against us that were iffy at best. We might have been on the winning side of that game. I thought the defense played pretty well. I know, you give up 39. It's like, how did they play well? I thought they played well. I thought that, outside of the first play there where Bowman got loose, I thought we did a pretty good job of taking away the explosives. Big drive in that game was right before half. I think North was just going to sit on it, and then they broke off the big run and then eventually scored on a Bowman touchdown there in the back of the end zone. But all in all, I thought the defense played pretty well that night, and I thought that offensively that was our best performance of the season. Since then, the Gahanna game was, that was bad. And then it's just hard to tell in these last 5. The coaching staff would be able to tell you, but from just a viewpoint of my 35-yard line seat, I can tell if we're sloppy or if we're crisp. Those things are easy to tell, but like when you're really talking about the small intricacies, like are we getting better? Like the coaching staff would be able to tell you that, because in these last 5, it's you don't really have like an opponent that you can say, all right, we can gauge whether we are getting better or not. As a fan, coaching staff, sure, they'll be able to tell you. So it's really hard to say. The closest thing I have to compare this New Albany game to would be Lancaster. And I think that's a good comparison because we jumped out on them 14-0. And then they just stayed true to that power smash mouth with Cole Dickerson. And what happened was they had long drives, 22 plays was one of them. And they were able to pick up third down after third down, even some fourth downs. And I just thought that Dickerson and that line and Richards, they just wore on us and wore on us. And eventually our front wore down. That's a lot of pounding. And if I'm New Albany, that's the film I'm watching. That's the blueprint. I'm not saying that we don't have good players up front, but we lack the depth and the size that we have had here in this unprecedented run we've had in the last 10 to 15 years. And I just think that the biggest key to tonight's game is our front going to be able to hold up for 4 quarters against what I would be absolutely shocked in is if New Albany doesn't come over here and try that same blueprint. Especially when you're running in these last 5 games, they're running for 246 yards a game. They have a nice combination in the backfield of Joseph Awansu-Ansah, who has about 933 yards on the year, 13 touchdowns on the ground. Will Alla is a kid that kind of scares me. Big, physical running back, two-way guy for them. Very similar, maybe not as good as Dickerson, but very similar running style between the tackles. And then Braylon Nash, the quarterback, is also another option. He can pull it. They have thrown the ball a little bit more, and most of that was in the first part of the season. Miles Jackson, Braden Pettinger, 2 targets that Nash likes to go to. I think, I want to say they've thrown for about 800 plus, which is a lot for New Albany. And but I don't think that they're going to try anything other than control the clock, control the game, and try to hit that 250-yard mark, 240, 250-yard mark tonight. And I think from a New Albany point of view, I think they'll feel pretty good about their chances tonight. Here's the thing. If our D-line can hold up long enough and we can hit a couple of big plays, get our guys out in space like we did, a couple quick scores like we did against New Albany or against Lancaster and get up 14-0 like we did against them, I think we're in good shape tonight. This game to me, similar to Lancaster, screams 21-14, 21-17, something like that. And we are really good in those close games, especially at home, especially when the stakes are high. Probably the last time I can remember us losing a close game at home, outside of the Trotwood game in 2017 was the opening round playoff game against Upper Arlington in 2015, which that UA team is very similar the way their season played out to this New Albany team. So I'm hoping that we're on the right end of that 21-14 score tonight. But I think, just to sum it up, the 2 biggest keys, we got to get an early lead. 2 touchdown lead would be fantastic. And our D-line is got to hold up for 4 quarters tonight. That's it. Keep that in mind tonight. Region 3, I like Gahanna tonight over Reynoldsburg. No surprise there. 8-9 game. I'm going to take a little bit of a shocker here. I'm going to take Grove City to beat Hilliard-Davidson in a rematch of Week 2. In a game I believe Davidson led at one time 41-0. That's how crazy I am. I'm going to take Grove City tonight. Also tonight, around Division 1, Region 3, I'm going to take Upper Arlington over Thomas Worthington. And then I'm going to take, what do we got? We got Westerville North against Groveport, I believe. That game right there is kind of a toss-up to me. I will take Westerville North on the home field. We also have Pickerington North against Westerville Central in a rematch of Week 6 that North won 16-14. That was a really close call. To me, for North tonight, it's all going to be about how do they bounce back after that highly emotional loss last week in double overtime to Gahanna. If they're able to bounce back, I think they win this game a little more comfortably tonight. If not, I think they're going to be in another dogfight with this team. But I will take, if I'm leaning, I will take Pick North in this game. And then we also have Lancaster in action tonight as well, a team that we just played a couple weeks ago. And I actually apologize, I misspoke. It is Lancaster that is taking on Westerville North, which I think is going to be a really good game. I lean a little bit Westerville North at home, but I think that's a toss-up. Groveport is heading to Darby tonight. Darby really faltered down the stretch. This is an up-and-down team. Groveport 3-2 in their last 5, only losses, or 4-1, I'm sorry, in their last 5. Only loss was to Pick Central. Man, I want to pick Groveport, but I'm gonna lean Darby at home. And in the other game tonight, we have Newark heading to Hilliard-Bradley. I like Bradley, even though Newark put 47 on the board last week, but they did give up 55 to Lancaster. So give me Hilliard-Bradley tonight big over Newark. So there's your picks. Let me recap them for you real quick before we get out of here. So we've got Reynoldsburg, we got Upper Arlington, we got Pick Central in a tight one. We've got Grove City in a revenge game over Hilliard-Davidson. We got Westerville North in a toss-up over Lancaster. We got Hilliard-Davidson or Hilliard-Darby in a toss-up over Groveport. Give me Pick North over Westerville Central, and give me Hilliard-Bradley over Newark. Those are the picks tonight. Have a great night. We'll talk soon, God willing.